Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another TAT Pod. I am your host, Ben, and I am playing it out of YouTube on my phone, which is a disaster. But yeah, welcome back to a brand new TAT Pod. We're in the mud. Our season's done. It's now February the 22nd. Our season's finished. Finito. All of those words, whatever you want to use, we're finished. We had optimism heading into this Champions League fixture against a team that we just can't beat. And we will never beat. We will never beat this team. Never. If you can't do it when we're 2-0 up at home, it's not going to happen. But I'm waffling. We need to introduce the panel, the regulars, the boys that are with me, the soldiers, because right now we don't want to do this. We don't want to sit here on our Wednesday nights talking about this nonsense. But you know what? We have to. How are you, Mo?
I've been fantastic, but in terms of football now, it's been a shame, unfortunately. I can't describe some of the feelings that were evoked after the second and the third, and the sad part about all of this is that they all came in such quick succession. So you couldn't even process all of it because it was 2 and 3 and 4 all within, and then the last 20 minutes was boring. The last 25 minutes nothing happened, but yeah.
Thankfully, I'm glad nothing happened in the last 20 minutes. Shigz, how are you, bro? What are you saying? Shigz has just been laughing. We've not even spoken since he came in the stream. Like, we've not even said anything. How are you, mate?
I'm well, bro. I'm well. We got absolutely.
You know what the thing is, yeah? I feel like this always happens because Mo said personally he's all right. I think you're doing pretty well, Shigz.
Bro,
I'm good. I just started a new job, and Liverpool is just the one thing where if they were good, my life would be perfect. But
yeah, but you know,
this is the thing I care about the most, and like this is the thing that's just killing me right now. Like, I woke up this morning, turned my alarm, and thought, nah, forget that. I ain't getting up yet. I'm having another hour. Had another hour. Got ready. Was a bit late to work. I can't lie. And yeah, this is just how I feel. This is how this club makes me. But guys, we're waffling.
Did you go to the game?
No, my brother did. Thankfully, we could only get one ticket, so he went. But yeah, like Stefan says, my guy, like and subscribe. We massively appreciate it, guys. You know, we're still trying to get going on this channel. Big up everybody who has tuned in, liked, and subscribed. We're on about 740 subs now, so we're still trying to get to a K. So yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
And like Stefan says, let's just get into it, Mo. When we went 2-0 up, it felt good, and it did feel that last statement there. It felt good to be true. Could you genuinely believe we were 2-0 up inside 20 minutes against Madrid?
I mean, for me personally, I wasn't too surprised. I'm being genuine right now because I said on the podcast last time that I genuinely do think that if we're able to cut out the spaces and control the game, we will beat Real Madrid. We will definitely beat Madrid, and we were doing that. We were controlling the spaces really well. We weren't giving away silly turnovers. Our counter press was fantastic in the first 20 minutes. We won the ball back aggressively. Vinicius and Benzema, and importantly, we were cutting out their receivers. The guys, because Vinicius and Benzema, they're killers, they're dangerous, but they're only killers in space. The guys who do the real magic are the guys in midfield, the Modric and the Valverde and the Kevin. These are the guys that do the real damage to us.
Yep.
Those are in the final action, but these are the guys that produce the most potency in terms of midfield. And we were onto them straight away. Modric didn't come to the game yet. Camavinga didn't come to the game yet. Camavinga will be tackled to get a second goal. And we were doing really, really, really well. And the game changed once the Vinicius' amazing goal went in, and we didn't react. And that's where the game fell. As soon as it was a 2-1, that's where the game fell away from us, unfortunately.
100%. And Shigz, you know, let's just rewind to that opening 20 minutes, mate. The crowd are up for it. The players are up for it. We get that first goal. Nuno, an unbelievable flick. Like, he's done that twice now. The Fulham one and yesterday. Yeah. And then shortly after, Courtois makes a howler, and I'm thinking, we're finally getting there. We're getting our revenge on this horrible team that all they've done is compiled misery after misery. Courtois' champagne is inner carriers. And, you know, like I'll use this phrase because like Mo was confident, fair enough. I was confident that, you know, I'm confident for every Champions League game before it kicks off. But at that time, I did think like, wow, is this actually happening? But Yeah, first of all, how did you feel in the opening 20 minutes, man? Did you feel the same as me? Did you think that this is finally the moment where we get this done or not? You didn't.
No, at no point did I feel comfortable, bro. Even when we went 2-0 up, I said, you know what it is about Madrid, and we saw it last season. Like, they're never out of a game. They're never out of a game. So even though, like, don't get me wrong, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I was happy that we were 2-0 up because I even missed the first goal. I went to go and make a drink, and then like I came back and I was like, "Oh, Sugar was so all right, cool." Then Couture gives Salah his birthday gift, and I'm thinking, "Nah, this is not real. This is not real." And then nothing. Vinicius scores, and then when Vinicius scored, this is where it gets real. This is where we see if those two games that we played previously is a stopgap or we've turned the corner. And like you said, we didn't react. There was no point where we did react a little bit, but there was a chance where it got cleared off the line by Nacho. Was it Nacho?
Yeah, Nacho's brilliant. Yeah, when Nacho came on, he's brilliant.
And then from there, I don't know what, we just lost all composure. So first 20 minutes was happy, but I knew I've seen this.
This is the thing,
mate. Play too much, so I'm like, no, there's no way they're gonna not say something in this game. I just couldn't. And then Vinicius' goal was quality, but yeah, it was just.
This is the thing, mate. This is spot on because last season, how many times did this team come back? Like Chelsea, City, a few other games along the way to the final, they came back. Did they play Juventus? I can't remember their run exactly, but a lot of the games they came back from, and you're spot on. And look, I see both sides of this argument where when we was 2-0 up, everyone was like, why didn't we take Sting out? Whatever, like, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? But you're spot on. 3 goals, there's still a chance they could come back. But if we got that third when we were 2-0 up in that moment, who knows what would have happened. So I don't really have an issue with them trying to get the third and trying to at least kill off the first leg. Not the tie, but the first leg. So that, for me, was kind of how I saw it. But on the flip side of that, you can say against Real Madrid, a team with top-class players in every single position, that's incredibly naive. And the moment where, you know, like we've just touched on our 2 goals, there's nothing much more to say about those. Nuno's brilliant finish. Salah just right place, right time. Brilliant work to press the keeper. But as soon as Vinny got that first goal, it just flipped. And, you know, we'll talk. I think we'll touch on Gomez a bit later on because I think he's pretty much involved in all of the goals we conceded. But yeah, we'll get onto him individually in a bit. But the thing that hurts the most for me, and I don't even know if we're going to cover all the goals because there's 5 of them and it's just a blur. Well, for Real Madrid. But for me, the thing that hurts the most is they all could have been. Well, I don't even know if this. People will say that I'm being harsh and unfair. I genuinely believe at least the first 3 goals could have been easily avoided. No. Easily.
The first goal you have to give to Vinicius. That was just quite.
You have to give it to him, but with
Gomez has to get closer. Gomez has to get closer.
Yeah.
No, but there were 3 people around him, not just Gomez.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Gomez, Trent, and I can't remember who the third one was.
I think it was Fabinho.
They're ball watching, and that's been a common theme with us all season long. They're just okay, Vinny, get it out your feet and get the shot off.
I gotta say this. The most heinous goal that they scored was the 3rd goal. That was the most heinous goal.
Is that the one where Modric wins it back?
No, from the free kick or the corner.
Oh yeah, Gomez gives it away, fouls. Yeah,
we had 8 people.
No, but Shigz, just the first. I'm sorry. I feel okay. Maybe the first goal you can probably say that might let you have that. That's individual brilliance. Let's go through them. The second goal, Alisson. There's a mixture of both. I think Stefan could have done better in the midfield. Gomez didn't really help him out, and Alisson probably should have gone the other way, or I don't know. So we could have easily avoided that one. The third one, Fabinho, or 4th one. Look, it's just a blur. I can't remember the order of the goals. I'm not watching them back. But the one that I'm most furious about as well is the one where Fabinho loses it in midfield, and Stefan, who I'm not going to get onto too much, just jogs back, doesn't even look to make a tactical foul to get a yellow. And Modric, 37-year-old Luka Modric, still the best centre mid in the world, just walks through our team like they're not there. And it's like we're moaning at our midfielders who are much younger than him that they don't have legs. Yet when we come up against Luka Modric, he seems to have the legs and he's much older than them. So I don't know.
Just quickly, it's like we saw the first 20 minutes and we saw the last two games. This midfield trio demonstrated that they have the capacity to put 100% effort in. They have the capacity to discover that level of intensity, and they have the capacity to be applied for 90 minutes. And for 20 minutes, they were doing that against Real Madrid. And like Shigz said, okay, cool. We give that goal to individual brilliance. Those goals can happen. But the difference is because they're playing Real Madrid, that goal gives them a level of confidence and takes a level of confidence from us that we just couldn't recover from. As soon as we concede that goal, the difference in play was incredible. Our intensity levels dropped. Our confidence dropped. And I think commentators touches was almost once another team, perhaps you win 2-0, you go 2-1 down, etc. We can still see out the game. But where in Madrid, it almost gives you that they get that psychological edge upon you where you think that they're going to make a comeback and you lose the level and you lose and you're like. If Vinicius individual brilliance doesn't happen and they don't score the first goal, we could. There's a very good chance we could have scored that first half and be 2 goals up in the first half 100%. But they scored that first goal and we dropped considerably. And like we said before, this team, the way we play, our counter pressing, it relies on intensity. Once that intensity goes, we cannot compete. And least of all against Real Madrid, a team that if you give them one moment, they'll punish you. All 4 of those 5 goals, I can't remember a period in the game where we were getting battered, where Real Madrid have chance after chance after chance. They were just all moments. Yes, they came in quick succession, but it was just moments.
They had 6 shots on goal and scored 5.
Incredible. And they generated 1.66 XG. 1.66 XG, and they scored 5 goals. We had to, fair enough, but the point I'm trying to make is that we gave away moments. And those moments came from the fact that our midfield when it doesn't have the intensity, we get punished. We got punished against Wolves because we made 3 mistakes, and the rest of the game was boring. Against Leeds, for example, that last Van Dijk mix up, the Gomez mix up, we concede. Against Nottingham Forest, Gomez makes the error, and they scored their 1 goal of the whole game, of the one shot of the whole game. So the reality is that we decided to drop our intensity levels against the worst team to drop our intensity levels, against the worst team, a team that thrives of moments. Pep Guardiola coached a 6-0 win against Real Madrid last season in the semi-finals, and he lost the game 6-5. He had 2 goals spare with 5 minutes to go, and he still lost the game. So that's the reality. That's the reality of Liverpool, unfortunately. We were in a position where we spoke about midfield, we spoke about intensity levels, we spoke about our pressing, and our levels dropped after they scored the first goal because we lost confidence. And once we lost that, the game was out of our reach. So
we are. Look, I agree with what you're saying, mate. I can accept being battered if the other team is like absolutely incredible. I can accept, if we've tried our hardest and we just come out the other end losing. But the goals we conceded yesterday, and credit to Real Madrid, they took the chances and we didn't. That's the bottom line. But I'm sorry, but they could have all been avoided. I put a tweet out this morning on my personal Twitter account, and it said, if we replaced just 3 of those players yesterday, Joe Gomez, Henderson, and Fabinho, I honestly think that it could have been, and this is all if buts and maybes, and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but I honestly think just replacing those 3 players and it's a completely different result. And look, I'm not saying we would have won, but we certainly wouldn't have lost 5-2.
But this is the point, though, Ben. I hear that what you're saying, but for 20 minutes they were doing their job. For
20 minutes out of 90.
Yeah, so I don't understand. So where does how does the performance decline that badly so quickly?
Mentality midgets, bro. As soon as they got their first goal back, that was it. You saw it. Heads dropped. They lost belief. Even the fans, and I've heard mixed opinions on the fans yesterday in the ground, and I wasn't there, so I can't exactly comment. But from what I heard on the telly, at least, you could hear it. Like moments before Vinny scored, it was so loud, the place seemed rocking. And then as soon as they get the goal back, it's like, okay, here we go. Like we know what's going to happen, but stopping it is a completely different thing. And I want to ask you boys a question about, and this is again jumping the gun. I've not come prepared for this. Forgive me for not watching those highlights back. This is just all off the cuff today. Why do you think we failed to change it when the pressure was on after going 2-0 up? Then we've conceded. It's 2-1. They're right back in the game. Why is this team unable to make the changes to, okay, maybe we need to do this in the midfield, or maybe we need to pick our moments when we go, oh, like, what is it about this team where we can't make those changes which other teams seem to be able to do? I mean, if that's another team against Real Madrid, I'm pretty sure they would have thought, okay, hang on a minute, this is a bit crazy now. There's still probably about 120 minutes left of the two legs. This is crazy. We've got an advantage. Let's try and, take an advantage at the Bernabeu. And we had it in our hands. And that, for me, is what I will never be able to get over. The 2-0 against Real Madrid at Anfield. And we didn't just let it crumble across the whole tie. We let it crumble in our own ground. So, boys, why did that happen? Why was there no changes?
I'm going to say something. And I just think these boys have lost confidence and belief. I can't put it down to anything else. They've become good time players. When everything is good, when they're winning, they're okay. But as soon as they come up against any adversity, and I'm shocked that I'm even saying this, because in Klopp's tenure at Liverpool, we've never known them to be able to be so what's the word? So get their confidence knocked so easily.
Yeah.
And it's baffling, because when I was watching the game, I couldn't fathom that we've been 2-0 up, and in the space of 10-15 minutes, it was back level again, and they were looking at, as soon as they got the second goal, you saw them start playing triangles around us. Modric getting the ball, Camavinga getting the ball, Valverde start, and I was like, oh my god! And there was not, and the thing about it is, because we didn't have no one on the bench to bring on to change the dynamic in the midfield. Keita, Ox, Milner. There's no one that will come in and say, right, give me the ball. We're gonna start doing anything. We're gonna control the game. There's no one that could do that.
Nope.
And
absolutely nobody.
And it pains me to say it, but unfortunately, some of the blame has to go against Klopp, because you've seen the stat that I've seen in terms of we haven't bought a midfield in the last 4 years. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but at some point, you have to be held accountable for the decisions you've made. In that same period, we've bought how many strikers? It can't be that the reason what made Sir Alex Ferguson so great was because he was able to reinvent the team while the team was still at the top. It feels like Klopp has rid these guys to the wheels, to literally the wheels have fallen off. And now when it's time for us to react to a situation, we're not able to do it for whatever reason. Mentally short or physically short, we're not able to do it. I dread if we go 1-0 down, because I'm like, we're not coming back. We're not. And it's you know me as well, Ben. I'm not the type of person to talk down on the team, but I'm just sitting. When I was watching the game, I was like, after Madrid scored the second goal, I can't think of another time where we made Courtois or the midfield or the Madrid defense scramble. I can't. Or, am I wrong? And we're at home. Like, if we're at the Bernabeu, I could say, you know what, we're away from home. Sometimes it's difficult to try and get into the groove. When you're at home and you can't even do that, and I'm not dismissing that Madrid are a quality team, but still, this is Champions League. We're here for a reason. You're at home. You're shooting at the clock, and you don't even muster no kind of. There was not one period in the second half where we hemmed them in. It's like, right, okay, it's coming. You know that feeling when we play teams before, we hem them in. A goal's coming. A goal's coming. There was none of that.
I can't remember any big chances in the second half.
None of it. And it's not. And this is the even more concerning thing, that when we go to the Bernabeu, in my eyes, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't see anything that he can do that can change it in order for us to play the better.
We're not going to come back. I mean, I said it yesterday. I'd be tempted to prioritize top four in that situation. We're not going to come back. Klopp won't think of it this way. He thinks there's always a chance, and fair enough. He's the manager. He knows these players, but there is no chance in hell we score 4 goals at the Bernabeu without conceding.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a situation where you think we're not capable enough, or do you think that these players won't improve enough by the time we get to that game, or do you
We
think
won't
it's
improve
It's just
enough.
not going to happen regardless. Even if we
And
improve,
also the caliber of Madrid. They'll
Yeah,
get these
can
one or two chances.
Yes, you're correct. But can you not imagine a scenario where that 20 minutes we produced, where we were able to fire in quick chances? Because people forget that first thing we could have scored 3 or 4 goals in that
Yeah,
first
but Mo,
20
it's 4. Yeah, but we have to score 4 without conceding.
But I could definitely see a scenario where it becomes ping pong and it could be 4-1 or 5-2 or
4-1 is not enough, bro. If 4-1, we're out.
4-1 is a draw. I think it's a
No, 4-1 is 4-1 is a draw, but you got to think.
And we could take it to extra time, and it could.
I'm sorry to be the bringer of doom and gloom. Okay, 4-1, but you imagine the amount of effort and mental attitude that they would have to put in for it to even get to 4-1. Not to talk when it goes to overtime.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. And
I know.
No, I appreciate it because, like, obviously we need a bit of optimism, but I'm just realistic now. I'm fed up again. You know what, man? Just before you carry on, I'm fed up of saying this kind of stuff about these lads because I back them all the time, and I'm like you. I say all this stuff being optimistic and hopeful, but they're not giving me any reason to, mate. Like, why should I keep saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be fine, we're gonna do this, we're gonna win that," but then they go and do that in the biggest game of our season? It's just, I'm sorry, I just don't see a world in where we go over there. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to come back.
I can definitely see a world where
it would be the biggest result in our lifetime.
I look at this in this perspective. Yeah, I cast my mind back to the game that Chelsea had at the Santiago, where they scored. They made a comeback. It was like I think they made it
up, innit? Yeah.
And they made overtime a 3-goal deficit. And yes, Chelsea ended up losing, but they lost in extra time or something like that. Or they conceded a goal right 90th minute. But what I'm trying to conceive of here is that Chelsea were able to apply themselves for a long period of time. For about 85 minutes, they were the better team by a mile, and Real Madrid didn't have a sniff. And so I'm trying to say, if we can rediscover that level of intensity. I remember if we were playing Real Madrid on next week Tuesday, and it was straight next week, then perhaps maybe not. But because we have so many games in between, and that we have a chance to perhaps rebuild that momentum again, I could definitely see a scenario where we have a fast start at the Bernabeu, and we do score 2 goals, and it stays a 1-goal deficit, and we score a 3rd goal. I can definitely see a scenario where that. I'm not denying that Real Madrid would score, but I could definitely see a situation where when Real Madrid went to the Bernabeu, Real Madrid did score, and they still took the extra time. They also overcame that 3-goal deficit. So it's not a question of whether that. Okay, we're definitely not capable enough, or we're definitely not, or we're not competent enough. It sounds delusional. I 100%.
No. I'm not laughing at your delusion because I'm not laughing. I said laughing at your delusion. You're not being delusional. But the thing that you know what it is, and I can just see it. I can see it now. Us getting 4-0 up, and then 85th minute, Kareem back post. Killing everything. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem. Is because
those moments will be very fine moments that it could go either way. So perhaps Benzema could get a chance, but Alisson could save it. But all I want is for us to at least arrive in a situation where
take the opportunity to do that. I would love to believe. I would love to believe that we can do that. But
it's not application.
But you know what it is.
There's no way, in my opinion, that we can't that we cannot overturn a 3-goal deficit. Only a 3. It's not 4. It's only 3. No, it's 5-2. It's 3-goal deficit. Yes, I'm trying to say at least make a comeback, so it's level at least.
So 3-0, we beat them 3-0 and go through on penalties.
Or go to extra time and we score another goal. But let's not get too complicated. I can definitely see a scenario where we all return that 3-goal deficit, and then it becomes about who's got that killer instinct. Who's got the perhaps Real Madrid might win, or perhaps we might win. But the fact that we arrived there, I'll be satisfied with that. So I'm asking for this team to rediscover that level of intensity that kept our Real Madrid, that saw Benzema.
Let me ask you this then, Mo. Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, how probable would you think, not even for the result, that Liverpool can recapture that kind of intensity? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe that they can?
I honestly believe that if there's one manager, if there's one group of players that can rile themselves up for a game in the situation they're in, out of all things considered, the situation we're in, the rubbish season we're having, the manager that we have, and the players, if there's any team that can rile themselves up, it's us. It's us for 1,000,000%. 1,000,000% it's us that can rile
That is
themselves.
true.
I don't think
But
there's
that
any
doesn't
other
mean
team.
it's gonna.
For sure. Even for we could play a super game and it could be 1-1 and we could have 10 million and we get unlucky and remember just to score and we end up going out 6-3. For sure, I agree with you. But I can definitely see a scenario where we apply ourselves. And if we apply ourselves, we will get chances. Real Madrid might get chances, but we will get enough chances to score 3, 4, 5 goals because Real Madrid are a team that if we suffocate them and we close out the spaces, they can see chances. People forget they can see the 6 goals to Man City. They conceded 5. They conceded I think it was altogether 4 goals to Chelsea. Like they will give up chances. They are not a team. They are not some monster mentality. They are monster mentality, but they're not a defensively secure team. If you ask me right now, will Real Madrid concede three good chances? They will. They will concede 3 good chances.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the thing is, when we take them,
guys,
We'll see.
Yeah, let's just we're getting way too carried away, man. Let's go back to last night just for a bit. The last thing I will say on what Mo's saying is, look, we have to be optimistic. We have to be hopeful. That's all we have left. But I will say the last time we scored 3 goals was against Aston Villa on the 26th of December. So again, we've played far worse teams than them, and we've scored 2 goals maximum. So I'm not very hopeful. Like I say, I stand by it. I think I would probably rather just make some changes and try and focus on top 4. It hurts to say that, but that's just how I feel. Just going back to the game yesterday, I've got a question for both of you because we've all been sat here for the last few weeks raving about Stefan Bajcetic. And I said before the game, and I made it clear that it's important for Liverpool fans not to overreact if it doesn't go right, because I had a feeling this was going to happen, because when we played him in the midfield against Man City in the Cup, similar thing happened. And I said to a lot of people, I was on a space, I said, tonight's either going to go one of 2 ways. There's no in between. Stefan's either going to come out on top and he's going to have an incredible game against Modric and Camavinga and Valverde, or his inexperience is going to show. He's going to struggle. And rightfully so. He's 18 years of age. He was playing academy football 2 or 3 months back. So there was no in between for me. Those were the 2 situations. Unfortunately, I think the inexperience did show. And I want to ask you guys, is this just a game too soon? And in these kind of games now in the future, so we've got some big ones coming up for top 4, do you think if the option is there, we need to try and take him out of the firing line just a little bit? Or do you still think just throw him in there and that's how he's going to learn?
How is he going to learn?
That's how I feel as well. But obviously, when you look at it yesterday,
the thing about it is this, Ben. Like, I get it. That game might have been a bit too much for him. But at the same time, there's no one else that's played in the midfield that stepped up for him to be dropped. Who else? Keita, maybe. Milner, maybe. No. Ox, no way. Who else? Curtis Jones, no way. Like, none of them have. None of
There's a shout for Milner to come on yesterday, I thought.
Milner's finished, man. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with that.
I can see why Klopp subbed on.
I wanted Milner to come on earlier.
I can see why, because whether we like it or not, he doesn't lose his head, unfortunately, and whether that stopped us from scoring a goal to cut the deficit out because he lacks the intensity, but he has that level, he has the capability where we were never going to concede with him on the pitch. That's why it felt like to me, because he provided that extra level of security. So I can see why Klopp, because I think Klopp in his head would rather us going to that tie 5-2 than be 6-6-2. So, but yeah, I can see why it's up on Milner. Someone says thoughts on why Nunes subbed. That's a very good point. We might have to discuss.
I agree with it, to be honest, because if you keep Nunes on,
he was getting marshaled out of the game because he was
it's not even that, bro. Like, if we're leaving Nunes on game, the manager can clearly see that we're not doing anything with the players that are on the pitch. Nunes he's just had a shoulder knock from the previous game. And we've got a big away game against Crystal Palace on Saturday, which we have to win. So are you going to leave Nunes on for 90 minutes in a game where, let's be real, we're probably not going to win? You're going to burn Nunes out for nothing, or you're going to bring him off half an hour early try and, like these margins in football in terms of recovery time and all of this, they're so important. Like people lose their heads over substitutions way too much for me. These are all calculated. I said yesterday after the game on Born and Red's stream, I said that I think Nunes probably knew he was coming off after 60 because he was doubtful anyway. Like he had a shoulder. Let's not forget that. So I don't think it was in terms of like, oh, this is a tactical thing or anything like that. I genuinely just feel like some of those subs, it's a matter of how many minutes can these guys offer. And for Nunes, we've got to have him against Crystal Palace on Saturday. He's vital. So that I wasn't mad to see Nunes go off. And Jota needed minutes as well. And Firmino.
All right, lads, I'll jump off, family duties and all that. But listen,
no worries, bro.
Mo, I love your energy. Listen, if there's any team that can do it, we can. But listen, we always just make things harder for ourselves than they need to be. So listen, people in the chat. If you ain't liked and subscribed, please do so now. Yeah, fellas, I'll see you later. Have a good evening.
Big up, Shigz, bro. Take care, man. Thanks for jumping on, my bro.
No problem.
See you later, bro. So yeah, what was we about Nunes? So what are your thoughts?
No, I can definitely see why Klopp subbed him off because number one, not only we spoke about the injury issues, but number two, also on Nunes' impact of the game. The reality is, when Real Madrid went that ascendancy, that it's impossible for Nunes to have an impact because he needs space. He needs space to be able to operate. He's not somebody that has a technical ability to wiggle out space. He's not somebody that has a technical ability to produce something magical, being marched around forward plays. Real Madrid was super, super, super intense, and Nunes can't deliver in those scenarios. That's why Firmino came on, somebody who can provide that little extra technical security, somebody who can keep the ball for longer. And I feel like Firmino did well when he came on. We had one or two half chances with Firmino and Jota in the box, something like little scrappy chances that weren't very clear cut, and those came from technical ability, man. And Nunes can't offer that, unfortunately, not now anyway. So I can definitely see why Nunes came off. It was a good substitution, and yeah, definitely because and also you have a situation that we spoke about earlier about Nunes losing the ball. He was losing the ball quite a few times in the second half, in my opinion, and that leads to turnovers. And like I said, when we're not in the SNSC, when we're not intense, when we don't have somebody to cover Nunes when we lose the ball, it means we can see chances. Like I said before, we know Real Madrid are killers, so I can see why he came up for sure.
And just on Nunes, big up Cody. He says so many people doubted Nunes, calling him all sorts, but I backed the kid from day one. Next season, he would definitely score 30 goals minimum. I completely agree. And I was looking back. I've got receipts from me and Nunes. I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite players at the minute. And when he was at Benfica and he played against us, I was waxing lyrical about him in a group chat to my mates, saying like, "This guy is unreal." Like, yeah, and I wouldn't mind him. And then obviously the links came out, and I kept saying like, I'm probably one of the only Liverpool fans that I know that actually want this guy, because everyone was just so against it. I think people completely misunderstood the type of profile he is because he's big and tall. People thought he was a target man, and he's not. Like, he's so quick, he's strong, people don't think.
I think it's because
ability,
he's not.
He has,
Because people, one of the biggest criticisms of Klopp is that he doesn't shake and he doesn't change things. But Sonny Nunes was a sign that he was changing the way he wants to play, and people are so used to these nimble forwards. People like Jota, Jota and Firmino who can operate in tight spaces, whereas Nunes can't. But I give credit to Klopp that Nunes is a sign that he wants to change things, and unfortunately, when things change, you go through a period and process, and Nunes is part of that process also. In my opinion, Nunes can for sure definitely succeed at Liverpool. There's no doubt in my mind that he can score 30 goals.
100%.
There's no doubt. But the big but is that when you go through these periods of change and you go through a period where other senior players who should be performing consistently are injured, or other players who should are not performing, it puts burden on Nunes. And because Nunes is in a period where he perhaps cannot impact as much as he wants to, and also people have an expectation for us to win and complete trophies, it leads to situations like this where it impacts our ability now. Because the big question is that Liverpool are a team, or the quality of squad we had before this is our team that should be winning trophies now. We should be winning trophies now, right now. But when you go through a process and you go through senior players not forming or declining and transfer market issues, etc., it means that the burden as upon players in Nunes, and Nunes just cannot deliver right now, unfortunately. Not in this big game recently now, of course, but in terms of the whole season, objectively, someone that underperforms XG by a lot. Somebody that perhaps in certain periods, in certain games, costs us quite a bit. You look at the Brentford game, you look at the Man City game, these kind of games, it costs us quite a lot. But it's a process. And that process, because other senior players not performing, it leads to us being impacted now, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
Is what it is.
And someone said yesterday, and it's the first time I heard this saying, and it was actually so true. Like, no team has actually stopped Darwin Núñez. He's only stopped himself. And I thought about that, and I thought that's actually so true. Like, if you think about it,
And
most teams he's had chances against. He's just
I
missed the
I
chances.
I can't and that's why he's only behind Erling Haaland in terms of XG generated. And that's a big stat. I don't want to overuse the XG stat, but XG per 90. I think Sam Maguire tweeted it was something about 0.9 XG per 95 minutes Haaland generates, and it's like Nunes generates. It's only behind Haaland, who's a 1.01. And if you contextualize those stats, this is a Man City team who's constantly creating chances for Haaland. I mean, it's a little we create chances for Nunes, but not to the level that it's created for Haaland. And the fact that the reason why Haaland is able to create chances is because he's different from the reason why Nunes is able to generate is because his off-ball movement. He's a player that defenders cannot mark properly. He's someone that likes to get very tight to defenders and move around and move around and move around. He likes to wiggle. And we saw that against Newcastle. You see, he was around the two centre backs and that amazing run. You saw. If anybody watches the first goal back, he was on the defender and he shuffled, he shimmied it, he went backwards, forwards, back, and then ran forward. And those are the little intangible dynamics of strikers that you find hard to find on the market, because we can get amazing finishes like Alexander Isak or Ivan Toney or fantastic finishes who are lethal in front of goal, but they may not be able to replicate the off movement that Nunes provides. And so it's a question that is one of the biggest issues of Nunes is that high output in terms of off movement and chances, but maybe low efficiency. So he might generate 40 XG, but he might only score 20 goals. And that's the issue. But we rather get the 20 goals than get a player who can only generate 6 but score 6. So it's a balance. The issue is that the burden's all on Nunes because other players are not performing as to the level. You have Salah who's becoming a secondary attacker, which means he's getting less touches in the box, less shots in the box, and less chances. And when we have an elite finisher being made to do graveyard shifts on the right wing and not being anywhere near our box, it creates issues for us. And you look at Gakpo, who's adapting, and you look at Firmino, who's been injured, and you look at Jota, who's been injured, and you look at Diaz, who's been injured, and you look at Mane, who's left. It puts the burden on the player who's processing, who's in a process. So that's the reality, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right, and it's something we need to improve on. And Eunice says, Ben, did you see Salah's reactions to the goal? Is very telling. I don't have an issue with that. I've seen someone made a video of him fuming, like, come on, man.
Good. No, why would you not want to see that from play? Why would you want to see a player just do? One of the biggest issues of this club team was the body language about conceding a goal and looking stroppy. This is a player who was fuming when we scored the goals, and good on him, because it shows that he cares. People, I don't know do you want him to be? I don't know, like a Matip or a Gomez who just sighs and puts that on the leave. He was angry because he expects more, he demands more, and that's a good sign.
Exactly,
anyway.
and this is
it disclosed all that nonsense about somehow Salah, his head's not here or his head's not here. He wanted to win that game. That was clear.
Yeah, and I don't have an issue with it, mate. Look, if we can see the goal where the attackers have done well to get the lead, and their hard work's just been undone by stupid mistakes, he's obviously going to be fuming. Why would you want him to be happy? Like, I'm not saying this is Eunice is saying this. I'm just seeing this go around Twitter. Like, this is telling. Like, no, it's not. It's just if you like when you're at games, you see every single player's reaction. Every single player reacts the same when a goal goes in. You see Virgil slapping the floor. You see everyone shouting to each other. It's just natural. Like in these big games when emotions are high, you can see the goal. It's only natural to react in that way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with what Mo Salah does. You can't read anything into it. Who knows? Maybe if we don't get top 4 and a big offer comes into him, maybe he will think about going. But the reactions to the goals we conceded yesterday is definitely not linked with that, in my opinion. Calder says Klopp has to stay and get the backing he needs for the rebuild. Imagine Bellingham, Ugarte, Kone in the midfield. I just hope they give him the money for the rebuild. And look, it's no surprise, is it, that once again, a big defeat for Liverpool, and here come the top sources saying that Liverpool are going to make 3 or 4 major signings next summer. There's money. All of this, it always seems to come out after we lose a big game.
People forget not to diss some of these journalists, but these journalists, they rely on club briefings. It's not like they have an actual source in Julian Ward or one of the other guys that by the way, we're going to make 4 or 5 cents. They're not doing it. It's club briefings. It's club briefings that are done based on public relations, because they want the discourse to be healthy. They don't want I mean, people forget we have PR companies working for us, and every club does this briefings. You get a press release sent to your email saying Liverpool, and they report. People think, oh, that sounds weird, but that's the right. That's what happens. You get press releases sent to certain journalists on the mailing list, and they get that and they tweet. Some tweet, some don't. And people like, I don't want to say names, but people like David Maddock and some of they just tweet what and make articles based on club briefings, because they may not have the complete inside sources that other journalists have, like maybe David Oyster or Fabrizio Romano. And the club do this because they want healthy discourse. You look at our owner John W. Henry after we won the Champions League. What did he say? We're going to reinvest and make sure we go again and win the Premier League this season. We won the Premier League, but who did we sign that summer? Sepp van der Berg and Harvey Elliott. And so I wouldn't trust anything that comes out in this period, because why does it come out after a loss? Number one.
The thing is, though, like for me, it's people ask me like, why do you think that? Because I do believe there will be a big investment in the summer, and people have quizzed me for it. There's no other option now. I think before this season started, there was a chance that this team could have gone again. It didn't work out, but there was still one more season.
The reasons why we declined are partly because of personnel, but partly because of things that we can't control in terms of transfers. Partly because of the own players or individual players declining themselves, rather than a personal issue. Because people forget we actually have a very big squad, but it's just that the quality we have is not. We don't have a huge quality.
Yeah.
If you look at our bench was stacked in terms of players on big contracts like Keita, Ox, Firmino, etc. Our squad is big, and we have to offer players. We have. I don't want to call them deadwood, because I wouldn't degrade them to that extent. I don't think Firmino and Oxlade-Chamberlain are deadwood, because they have quality, but these are players that we have to offload before we sign in. We can't sign a Bellingham and a midfielders with when we have 7 midfielders, 7 players who play in midfield on our books. Do you think we're gonna send another 2 extra and have 9 midfielders on our books? We don't have a match day squad to fill all these, so we have to offload. We have to offload players.
And I was just saying, like, there's no other way, because there was a chance, and it hasn't worked out. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, that you add the attackers and Carvalho into this team, and they might be able to at least win 1 trophy or 2 trophies. It obviously hasn't happened. Now leaves us with no other option. We've got players leaving on freeze, players getting older. There is physically no possible way this team can continue without major investment. And this is why I'm confident that it will happen, because FSG are obsessed with making money. They finally got this club up to worth 5 billion, however much it is, maybe 4, 3.5, I don't know, from 600 million or however much it was when they bought it. Do people honestly believe that they're just gonna, okay, we've got it up to this worth, now we're gonna go rubbish and we're probably gonna lose 2 billion on it just because we didn't spend a bit of money? It's going to happen. It is going to happen. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are going to strengthen in the summer. We are going to get. I'm not saying we're 100 million% going to get like the likes of Jude Bellingham, but trust me, there will be a rebuild in the summer. Jurgen Klopp will lead it. That is the only way out of this situation.
We complain a lot about FSG and we give them criticism, and that's absolutely fair. But you touched on the correct thing. The reality is that when it gets desperate and when it gets a situation where we have to sign, they do act. Like when we needed a goalkeeper, they signed a goalkeeper. When we needed a centre back, they signed a centre back. When we needed Diaz last season because of injuries and Firmino's decline and Jota's injuries, we signed Diaz. Like the reality is they act when it's desperate, and the reality is they will see this season, they will see our performance, and they'll know that if we don't invest, that they impact them. The reasons why they didn't invest in 2019 and 2020 and last season was because we were doing well, and that's one of the big issues that they like to see some sort of decline before we act. We only signed Diaz because someone's going to sign him, and we moved it to January. We only signed Gakpo because we had loads of injuries in attack. Now, hopefully, they're going to see how. Now, I think the reason why they didn't sign a midfielder in January is because we have too many midfielders on our books. That's the reason why they didn't sign any midfielders. They have to wait to offload. So, one thing I'll say about FSG, they will act when it's necessary, and I believe that. And like you said, because it's going to get situated desperate, they'll act for sure. I 100% agree with you for sure.
I was going to say, it's not even the fact that it's necessary now. It's the fact of you either, first of all, you've got to replace the players that are leaving on freeze, and then even the players that are still here We need better. So, they've been obsessed with turning Liverpool into this absolute monster which can compete in everything to obviously win trophies, but to also put money in their pocket. At the end of the day, that's what it is. They're businessmen, and investing in Liverpool is ultimately going to make you money. So I just don't see it. They're not people like they're not stupid. They might frustrate us at times, and then obviously make decisions that we don't agree with. 100%. We needed more players in the summer. The COVID season, when we had our injury impact, we needed more players. 100%. I've been frustrated. They tried to trademark the word Liverpool. They joined the Super League. I have felt the same fury as pretty much every other fan. But in this situation, I just feel it feels completely different because it feels like this team is coming to an end. And when you've got a Fabinho, who at the time was like 26, 27, Jordan Henderson, who's 28, 29, Mane, who's 28, Salah, who's 28, you can get away with not investing for a couple of seasons because they are at that level. And the downside to that is when you're at the top, you have to invest. I agree with that 100%. But as I keep saying, this feels different to me now because this does feel like the end is coming for this set of Liverpool players, this core, that we had that was so successful in 18, 19 and 19, 20 just feels like it's falling apart. And that for me is why I believe, even if it's not Jude Bellingham, I still have hope that Bellingham will be a Red in the summer. But even if it's not him, something big's going to happen in the summer. I don't know who, I don't know what, but it is. I just can't see a world where anything else can happen.
That people are irrationally thinking that if we don't sign Bellingham, it's all over. The club have their backups. The club have, like, when we were going to sign Julian Brandt and Mario Götze, we had Salah and Mane and Firmino and Mane and Son, etc. So the reality is that even if we don't get Bellingham, it's not Bellingham or bust, which I see a lot of narrative of. Bellingham or bust. If we don't sign, if Bellingham's going to come to Madrid, we're going to sign next. We will have players to sign also, and maybe not signing Bellingham will be a blessing because if we spend 120
not
million
for me, bro. I'm in the mud if we don't sign Bellingham. I've got people that will come for me, bro.
Really?
Yeah, man. I'm telling everyone that I've been telling everyone for so long. Yeah, he's coming. If he don't come, mate, I'm finished.
Yeah, I mean the way we're building up to Bellingham, it's gonna either be either we're gonna win or lose. We're gonna win or lose big. That's the reality. But the club, if you're fearing that it's Bellingham or bust, I feel like that's irrational because the club have never ever put in a situation where we've chased one player for the whole summer and we've signed nobody. That has never. I can't think of that happening. Where maybe Tuchemeni was a situation last season where we were gonna definitely sign him, and then we couldn't find anybody to replace him, and we ended up signing Arthur as a panic buy when midfielders got injured. But even then we were gonna sign him or sign nobody, which made sense because we still have Fabinho. But yeah, I mean the centre back is an issue also, but I still feel like Van Dijk and Konate, if they are definitely our two mainstay centre backs, Gomez and Matip are good enough backups because where are you going to find the level of the quality Gomez and Matip have had? Even if you think they've declined, where are you going to find the quality of backup without huge drop off? I think Gomez is 23, Matip is 30. I can't think of a good balance in terms of experience and young, and then both being backups and then both being willing to stay at the club and then both willing to not play every game. Where are you going to find that quality?
Yeah.
And people and also just a little bit of nuance. Also, we should also add that. Yes, Gomez and Matip are not the best. Yes, Gomez and Matip made loads of individual errors, but provide some context also. Look at the last two games when we were playing well. These guys were not exposed as much as they were exposed. People forget that we are the rest of the teams, the individual mistakes are a product of the rest of the team. People can say Alisson made the individual error, but he only made the error because he was uncomfortably put in a situation by Gomez, and Gomez only made the error because of midfield. So everything stems back. Unless we put players in uncomfortable situations that they're not comfortable with, and we blame the player who's in the situation. That's how we have to change our perspective on our individual errors. A player making an individual error cannot solely be blamed on the individual player. Why are they in a situation where they can make the individual error in the first place? So Gomez and Matip there's no doubt in my mind these are good enough centre backs. And then the question is, do you think Van Dijk and Konate are a quality partnership? And in my opinion, they are. It's impossible for me to think of a scenario where we can find two centre backs who are quality enough centre backs and are willing to not play every game to put them with Gomez and Matip. But that's my opinion anyway. And last two games examples, these two centre backs played well when the team was playing well. And Gomez and Matip are definitely good enough to play one-off games there and then when Van Dijk can't play or Konate can't play. They can definitely suffer through this game. So that's my opinion.
I agree. I still think somebody like, I don't know how much he'd cost, but that Antonio Silva, he's been linked with us. I think there's another one from the Portuguese league as well that's been linked with us a fair bit. I agree with what you're saying, but I think we should probably move one of Matip or Gomez on if we can, whichever one brings the most money. I don't really have a preference, to be fair. And then get somebody else in. Nat Phillips as well, could fetch a bit of money for him, and then bring in one really good quality youngster that, okay, like you say, Virgil's still going to be the main centre back for another year or two, but then you need somebody as an understudy similar to what Konate's been doing, so that when the times comes, we are ready to move on. We're not all of a sudden, oh no, Virgil van Dijk's gone now we're in a mess. We are ready, we're equipped. So that's what I want to see, a young centre back, midfielders, all that stuff. But this is for another stream. We'll get onto that another time. But Mo, just to finish the stream, mate, big game away at Selhurst Park on Saturday. I think it's the 8 o'clock kickoff. Are you gonna take anything from what we saw yesterday into that game? Do you think that's knocked us back a bit, or do you think they'll pick up from where they left off against Newcastle and Everton?
I can definitely in my opinion, the game will go a similar way to Newcastle, where again, away, late kickoff, away from home. We're definitely gonna go for a period where we're suffering. And the question is, can Alisson save us? Can the defense save us? And hopefully they can. And then we'll get our chances and hopefully we score. Can we win I think we will win the game for sure. I think we win the game. It's going to be a very tough game. Palace are defensively resolute. They've got a very good mentality, but they're also vulnerable. Also, they have an issue of conceding late goals. They have an issue of going through patches where they can't defend. So can we win the game for sure? Palace are not Palace. Whether it's away from home, etc. But then this season they haven't been quality enough to think that they should cause enough problems. Like they showed against Manchester United, they will have a period where they could score goals, and I think we will score. But like I said, if there's a manager who can motivate players, if there's a manager who will never lose the dressing room, if there's a group of players who can find the level, it's them. But the question is, can they do it for 90 minutes? And we'll see. So I think you'll win the game. I think you'll win the
game. Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think now the players won't think that way, but maybe they'll feel like this is all we have now. Top four charge.
It's going to be a big morale boost, because I know deep down in these players' hearts, they probably thought they could win the Champions League, and for that to be crushed in one game, in the manner it was crushed, for sure, morale high. But like I said, if there's any manager who can motivate players, it's Klopp, and he's done it before. When we got smacked out of the Champions League by Real Madrid in 2021, and we lost, or when we lost the Champions League final last 2 years, and we went back again and compete the year after, he did it. So I believe he can do it. But
exactly,
it'll be tough.
But yeah, it's gonna be a tough game for sure. There's no denying that Selhurst Park isn't exactly a place that we like to go to. I feel like it's gonna be a 1 or 2 goal.
We do have a good record there. I can't remember the last.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's just bad vibes. Like night time at Selhurst Park.
I agree with you. I think 1920 last minute goal. 2020 we scored 7 goals. That was the blip. The year after, I remember the last season. It was last season we went 2-0, but we suffered for like the whole game, and then just got a last minute penalty, and that killed the game. But we definitely should. We didn't deserve to win the game last season. But then again, it's about riding out the pressure, riding out these tough moments, and hopefully this team, they couldn't do it against Real Madrid, but they were able to do it against Newcastle and Everton. Hopefully they're able to do it against Palace.
Exactly, mate, and that's all we can hope. We've got to get back into, it sounds silly, but back into the form we was in. 2 games, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. Obviously Real Madrid was a completely different test to those games, and obviously Palace are nowhere near as good as Real Madrid either. So I'd like to think that they will go back to how they were doing, and the Real Madrid game was just a one crazy game. So we will be back, guys, after the Crystal Palace game at some point to discuss it. Hopefully we're back with another win. But that's going to be it, guys. Stefan, thank you, my mate. You've been brilliant in the last few streams. Big up to yourself. Big up to everyone still watching as well, to all of you still in here. So please make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you keep interacting, you keep leaving comments and likes. And guys, we will see you after the Crystal Palace game. Take care. Goodbye for now.